This is one near and dear to my heart, actually. So Schindler writes, in short, freedom from what is lower comes at each stage only through a love for and thus dependence on what is higher.
Yeah.
Love always means some kind of dependence. It is impossible to avoid loving something most, and thus making oneself dependent in an absolute way on something, even if it happens to be, for example, one's own immediate gratification.
Yes.
To be free in the most total sense does not mean to be utterly independent, for this would necessarily mean to be without love for everything, for anything, sorry,
Yes.
which is impossible in any event. But to be dependent only on what is in reality highest, with all this dependence entails. Perfect freedom is thus identical to absolute obedience to what is absolute.
Yes. Uh, I think that's exactly right. And we were talking about this earlier. I think I can't remember if it was our first or second discussion about sort of love as a voluntary necessity. It's right. It seems to be something that you are choosing, but nevertheless you find yourself, as he says, in a dependency relationship, and that's because you ultimately want to be connected to a reality that transcends your set of egocentric, uh, you know, preferences, right? One thing about that is about love and moving the levels, because the drama is there. Because like when I go from the letters to the word, right, there's a sense in which I can't really predict the gestalt until it arrives. Um, Jonathan Pajot talks about this, and this is one of the ways in which he talks about faith. He talks about, uh, and there's a video out with him and I and David Fuller talking, like there's this love that draws you from the lower level features to the gestalt that you can't get from the features. But once you're at the gestalt, like in the story, once you get to the climax, then from the perspective of the gestalt, all the features make sense. And there again is the ascension and the return, right? And there's the drama in it. And so I there that love, if what we've been talking about is right, and if love is drawing us into more and more into the whole, it's going to always do that. It's going to draw us into gestalts that aren't, or frames, to use my language, that aren't predictable from smaller frames. But once we're in the larger frames, we can make better sense of the smaller frames. So there's a sense in which love is not only binding you into reason, but in this sense of faithfulness to the calling to leap in that fashion and then understand. There's something like faithfulness or faith, if you want to be religious, in this as well. And I have looked for people both that I can know as persons and also people that I can know as paradigms like Socrates that are faithful in return for me in that way. And that they enable me to have that ratio religio to reality. And that has been a profound guide for me, for making my life concretely better. And I'm saying all of this because I'm, again, trying to bring that very profound thing you just read back down into the guts of how you're living your life, how you're relating to yourself, how you're relating to other people, how you're relating to the world. And Socrates would like that, because he well, to use a phrase, Socrates was very willing to get his hands dirty for his philosophical principles. And I just want to again impress on people, because Robert, you and I, we're getting, and we should, we're getting into some very lofty language, and we're really pushing the limits of conception and reflection. But we always have to balance that ecstatic ascent with the humbling return. again and again, if we truly want to get Socrates' lesson.